For 6 years, Jim Rohn blamed the economy and his boss for his lack of money. When he finally complained to his mentor that this is all they pay, the response was a reality check. No, that is all you are worth. Most of us are exhausted from the hunt. We hustle and grind, trying to corner success, but it stays just out of reach. Like that butterfly, the more frantically you chase it, the further it flies away. Pointing at the wage scale, a negative relative, or a bad market is a reflex. It is an instinctual attempt to protect our ego from the weight of our own results. But success follows a different law. It isn't something you go after, it is something you attract by the person you become. You don't find success, you draw it toward you. This shifts the entire focus of a career. The most important question to ask on the job isn't what am I getting, it is what am I becoming. Shifting from a victim mindset to a commitment to personal development changes the math. When you increase your value, your circumstances eventually catch up to match the person you've become. Giving up your excuses is psychologically painful. Stripping away the habit of blaming the government or the weather feels like going through literal withdrawals. You have to identify the thief in your mind. These are the internal enemies, doubt, chronic complaining, and overcaution, that act as a tax on your potential. The Israelites in the desert illustrate this pattern perfectly. Having just been rescued from slavery, they spent their new freedom griping about the quality of the water and the taste of the food. Their constant complaining became their downfall. Because they couldn't stop looking back and whining about the difficulty of the journey, they were barred from entering the promised land. Harboring an internal culture of complaining creates a barrier to success. It doesn't just make the journey miserable, it actively repels opportunity and effectively cancels your future prospects. We all arrive into the setup. The economic seasons and the unalienable rights mentioned in the Declaration of Independence were established long before we got here. These are the fixed macro forces of life. You cannot wish the seasons away, but you can change yourself. While you can't control the wind, you can absolutely choose how you set your sails. Unlike a goose, you aren't forced to fly south every winter by instinct. If the last 5 years didn't work, you can tear up that script and set out on a new course today. Accepting the unchangeable macro forces allows you to stop fighting the weather and start focusing your energy on the micro actions you can actually control. This requires a specific discipline for every season. In the winter of hardship, do not wish for the cold to pass. Use the difficulty to get wiser, stronger, and better at handling the next one. Survival depends on striving for excellence. If you only settle for getting by skills, the next winter will likely be just as difficult as the last. Spring is the season of opportunity, and history shows it always follows difficulty. But while spring is a guarantee of a chance, it is never a guarantee of a harvest. Seizing the spring requires urgency. Before Thomas Edison's inventions, the sunset was a hard wall. The command to work while it is day was a survival necessity because the night shuts everything down. You must move with that same speed before your window of opportunity closes. Navigating these cycles means moving from a state of endurance in the winter to aggressive, proactive movement during the brief windows of the spring. Summer is the season of maintenance. You have to nourish the values you've planted, but you must also recognize that weeds and pests will take the garden unless you actively defend it. This vigilance extends to the world around us. Just as a garden requires protection, preserving the freedom to even speak or build a career has historically required a hostile defense against destructive ideologies. We pay that price to keep growth possible. Then comes the harvest. This is the moment to take 100% responsibility for your results. You either made the calls and did the work, or you didn't. Reap the crop you planted without a single complaint. Time is the one resource that does not renew. George Harrison reminded us that all things must pass, and that includes our opportunities. We don't have 20 more years of growth. We have 20 more times to see a spring. Challenge yourself to look at your remaining chances differently. Will you spend them complaining about the setup, or will you take absolute responsibility for the value you bring to the world? Your results are the harvest of who you choose to be. If you want to stop chasing the butterfly and start attracting success, subscribe to The Explainer for more insights on mastering your mind.